Welcome, this is Crimey Queen. If you're joining us for the first time, this is the channel where we get excited about love. This is where we ignite that which comes alive, that which makes us smile. Hence, we say the crimson light is live. So, remembering to smile is important because smile, the word smile correlates to the master number 22. I do go on about it because, of course, it's the way it was just revealed to me in Luke chapter 22, and there was that insight when Christ um, was inquiring about where the Master is going to have the Last Supper with his disciples. So that it was also an indication that we all masters. That, of course, if Christ came to have this sacrifice to save us, he had already paved the path of what we are meant to be or how we are meant to express ourselves. I would accept all of that, of course, for the last part, which I'm glad was said that, of course, since he died, we didn't have to, well, we still die, but I think you know what I mean. But in essence, I am very concerned about, I'm still concerned about the word sacrifice because it's a word that seemed to have been so much entrenched in our psyche because, of course, we hear about the word sacrifice from very young age, and if our parents put it this way, deprive us of something. It may be for the cause of having a sacrifice or to say, oh, well, you can't have this now. We need to save it for. The word save and sacrifice is very synonymous. So, as long as we are trying to save ourselves, which we seem to be endeavoring to do moment by moment, delaying gratifications, we are still in this sacrificial stroke save mode. And so that's what intrigued me. I have been questioning myself about this, and I'm not sure it's altogether a way of acting on things all the time. Of course, even now, saying that, there is an aspect of what one might perceive as a sacrificial um, mode in my doing these presentations because of course they take hours and but I am enjoying this process. So there is a there is still a degree of an agreement, or it's that my validation or expectation. So I am not expecting someone to say, oh, great, I really enjoy this, or you've changed my life, although that would be nice. But I am actually enjoying growing and uncovering or discovering things that I hadn't seen before. And I'm actually also enjoying the process of sharing because, again, sharing is another thing that became very apparent to me that this is how we grow, whether it is positively or negatively. This is how the sharing is something that we are dependent on, whether consciously or unconsciously, whether through friends and families or in the spiritual realm, or even our own inner strength or internal values. But there is a degree of expectation of whatever it is we are doing. Otherwise, we wouldn't hold the degree of values that we do. Well, that is my take on that. But really, I would like to just quickly share with you certain words that we have been using, and I feel certain words have certain frequency, and I have been looking at the number. We have been looking at the number 4, we have been looking at the number 10, but really I would hope to do this methodically and have a series of representations for each number, but I'm not sure this is how it's going to go. But it just came to mind for light workers, we tend to use this word higher self, Higher. Higher self. Let's just see what happens here in the sense of, in fact, I was going to use higher power, but because we know what the self is, and perhaps we really Just let's go with the flow for now. So 8, 9, 7, 8, 5, 9. So we see higher in terms of the other presentations that we've done, we seem to be when we are in what appears like what we would say a positive streak, is that we are moving towards the fox. Now, we say a positive streak, whereas the fox is really 666, which is termed as the devil to some people, but it's also where it goes in alignment with where it requires a sacrifice from us. Okay, so in that higher as well, we can see that the last digit is 9. It is also telling us that this is how far you're going to go, or there is a demarcation of that sacrifice, what that sacrifice is going to be. So from 8 is where we are making that journey. We are going through all the high quarters. We are able to see as above and so below. We are able to make distinctions of heaven and earth in this realm. We are able, and in that position, of course, we get the insight of our next motion, of our next cycle, of our next. So we are prepared to go through that cycle. And this in this section here, we tend to, I think this the higher is really giving a clear indication when we are on a high. When we are on a high, we really want to stay there. We don't really want to go back from where Christ said, "Get thee behind me, Satan." We go through a cycle and we want to go through those cycles. How long we can stay on this higher realm, that's another question. But we do that. So we have this sacrificial point here, and of course, with the eye here, is always indicating the third eye being open. This is not the eye where we in our ego. This is really in the spiritual aspect. We are taking a collective view of our position here. So then we go into 7 because we have finished this cycle. So when we finish this cycle we pay, very happy to pay the inland revenue, our dues. We don't go back to that fox stage because we are growing, we have become aware of the processes here. We are in alignment with the divine. We are in alignment. We recognize that we are created in God's image and likeness. And with that God's image and likeness, we are strong, we are safe. We recognize all of those. So we don't even bother to go back into that fox area for that second cycle. We we go through the journey of the gypsy discovery, where we really want to know the deep secrets. I think that's where I am now. We want to know the insights. We want to discover for ourselves. We don't really want any guru anymore. We want to understand that, hey, I want to understand what my makeup is. What is that God spirit in me? How can I tap into it? Of course, there must be a way. So we are asking ourselves those questions, and we are exploring our gypsy process. And of course, when we get it, because we have to get it, we get it. We don't travel all the time. We are in our rest with number 7, but yes, we are traveling. It's that kind of rest that we are resting from this stage. We are resting from the idea that we need someone to really guide us and tell us when to sit and when to stand. We are resting from those elements, and so we are really enjoying that process here. We find ourselves in high quarters, headquarters. I say high quarters sometimes, and I mean the same thing. Headquarters zone. We find ourselves here. We become very our humility is very is with reverence. We have reverence for all things. And of course, in that first cycle, we probably were challenged. It's that kind of thing that reminds me of going on a fun ride with my son once, and it was really terrifying, and we both were really petrified. And we thought, oh, perhaps we should do it again, and we might feel better on the second round. Well, I can't say we did, but the idea we went through it, it was really saying something that we did exercise a degree of wanting to explore. We exercise that trust or that willingness to explore. And this is what happens in the second journey here, that willingness to explore. When one gets back to from that nine, he takes his journey, he goes to headquarters, and then it's like he really gets it, because on number eight, you know you are not you are just going through emotion, but you understand, which was a realization for me as well in the Crimson Light on the second volume, getting onto the bridge of actualizing self love, where I experienced that motion of cycles or spiraling. It was that spiral effect. So, in that spiral effect, we know I got to understand that it's really a circle, but it's just my experience and decisions I made that elicit those experiences, made them that figure eight. And so, with that eight and going to this part, of course, it is always safe to go back into the new, because the new was a high in itself. The new, of course, has that aspect of newness. So we enjoy the journey. It's not always just joyful, or it also constitute pain, crying, and all of those things. But there is a degree of enjoyment in it that we can't really argue about. So we see that is the journey that we make, and then we move on to the number nine again. So perhaps I will, because just to keep this short, I'll just do a quick one on self, because this is five and three and six. So we could say six and six, 12 and three, eight, 15. So the number six, of course, is self, as we know it in number six. So that is another way of identifying the number six as the number of man. It is the self. Okay, so I hope you have enjoyed this. I hope you have found this fun. I am just now just doing a few words that I know that impacts on our psyche, and just to raise a bit of consciousness on how we relate to those words. So thank you for watching, and hope you have enjoyed this. If you like this video, click the like button, and in the meantime, stay blessed, stay bright, and stay ignited, and spill over with love. Okay, namaste.